Most people remember Saturday mornings as a time for cereal and bright colors. But beneath the surface of our favorite childhood shows lies a reality so dark it changes everything. We're talking about innocent cartoons with really disturbing lore that most viewers completely missed. From beloved ghosts who are actually tragic children, to trains facing a literal industrial nightmare, these backstories are not what they seem. You might think these shows were just for kids, but the truth is much more unsettling. See, some of these secrets were hidden in plain sight for decades. But here's the catch. You won't believe which childhood icon was actually born from a nuclear disaster. For starters, everyone remembers Casper the Friendly Ghost. He was the cute little spirit who just wanted a friend. But what most people do not realize is that Casper was not born a ghost. He was once a 12-year-old boy. The lore gets really dark when you find out how he passed away. In the original stories and the movie from 1995, it is revealed that young Casper played outside in the freezing cold until he caught pneumonia. He did not go to sleep peacefully. He was a child who suffered and died alone because he stayed out too long in the snow. And it gets even worse. His father became so obsessed with the loss that he built massive machines to try and bring the boy back to life. Imagine being a kid and realizing your favorite friendly ghost is actually a tragic victim of a cold winter night. And then there is Courage the Cowardly Dog. This show always felt a bit off, right? Hands down, it is one of the most unsettling things ever aired for children. The creator, John R. Dilworth, basically made a psychological horror show disguised as a cartoon. Courage lives in a place called Nowhere. The house is miles away from any other person. Because of this, Courage is the only thing standing between his elderly owners and ancient scary monsters. Some theories suggest that the monsters are not even real. Instead, they are just how a small dog sees normal strangers because he is so terrified of the world. But the actual episodes show things like body horror and existential dread that no child should ever have to process. It's not that simple though. The show often dealt with themes of abandonment and the fear of being erased from existence. And get this, Gravity Falls feels like a fun mystery adventure, but it hides cosmic horror that is hard to ignore. The main villain, Bill Cipher, is a literal nightmare from another dimension. He did not just want to rule our world, he destroyed his own entire home dimension first. During the event called Weirdmageddon, reality starts to warp in ways that are truly disturbing. People are turned into stone and stacked up to make a throne for a demon. The twins, Dipper and Mabel, have to face monsters that are basically physical manifestations of insanity. One of the most overlooked aspects is how much trauma these kids actually go through. They are constantly in danger of being possessed or seeing their friends turned into statues. Finally, in this section, we have to talk about Adventure Time. At first, it just looks like a boy and his dog in a land of candy. But the crazy part is that the land of Ooh is actually the radioactive ruins of our world. It was created after something called the Mushroom War, which was a full nuclear conflict that wiped out most of humanity. See, those random pieces of trash and old technology Finn finds are relics of a dead civilization. The Ice King is not just a silly villain either. He was once a man named Simon who lived through the apocalypse. He found a magical crown that saved his life, but slowly erased his mind. He lost the woman he loved and his entire identity just to stay alive in a world full of radiation and monsters. The most important thing to remember is that every bright color in this show is built on a grave. But the suburban streets of our childhood hold even darker secrets than a nuclear wasteland. A lot of people are confused about why Hey Arnold is so highly praised, but once you look at the lore, it is clear why. This show was incredibly down to earth, but it dealt with things that were way too heavy for a grade schooler. Take Mr. Hyun for example. He is the quiet neighbor in the boarding house. In a special episode, we learn he is a refugee from the Vietnam War. He had to give his baby daughter to a soldier on a helicopter during the fall of Saigon just to make sure she survived. He spent 20 years not knowing where she was or if she was even alive. That's some serious reality for a cartoon. And then there is Helga Pataki. Everyone is obsessed with her being a bully, but her home life was a total disaster. Her mother was constantly tired and making smoothies all day, which is a very clear hint at a struggle with alcoholism. Her father does not even remember her name half the time. Basically, Helga is a product of neglect and emotional abuse. Rugrats is another show that feels wholesome until you look at the backstory of Chucky Finster. We all knew he was scared of everything, but there is a very sad reason for his anxiety. His mother passed away from a terminal illness shortly after he was born. The show finally revealed this in a Mother's Day special that left everyone in tears. Seeing a group of babies try to understand the concept of a mother who was gone forever is one of the most heartbreaking moments in animation history. The crazy part is that the show uses the perspective of babies to explore how people process grief and loss. Chucky's dad is also struggling to raise his son while carrying his own heavy sadness. It shows that even in a world of playpens and diapers, the reality of life can be very cruel. So here's the deal with Fairly Odd Parents. Timmy Turner is magical godparents who can grant any wish. Sounds great, right? But the lore states that children only get fairy godparents if their lives are legitimately miserable. This means that Timmy is only being helped because his situation is so bad that the universe had to step in. His parents are incredibly neglectful and often leave him with Vicky, a babysitter who physically and emotionally tortures him. We're talking about a 10-year-old boy who is essentially living in a house of horrors whenever his parents leave. The show plays it for laughs, but when you realize the requirements for getting a fairy, the whole thing becomes much darker. Every kid with a fairy in that show is a victim of some kind of serious trouble at home. What most people do not realize is that the toys and pets we loved were also trapped in their own nightmares. Thomas and Friends might be the most disturbing one of all if you think about it for more than a second. These cheerful engines live in a world where their only value is being useful. If an engine is no longer useful, they are sent to the smelter's yard. This is basically a place where they are torn apart and melted down while they are still conscious. There was an episode where an engine named Harry did not want to come out of a tunnel because it was raining. To punish him, the person in charge literally bricked him up inside the tunnel. They left him there in the dark, unable to move, while other trains watched him suffer. It is an authoritarian nightmare where the fear of being replaced or scrapped keeps everyone in line. The crazy part is that these trains have faces and feelings, yet they are treated like disposable tools. Pokemon also has some lore that will keep you up at night. Everyone knows Cubone, the little guy who wears a skull on his head. The official game and show lore says that the skull belongs to his dead mother. He cries every single night because he misses her, and the stains on the skull are from his constant tears. And get this, many Pokemon are implied to be the spirits of dead humans. For example, some ghost types are said to be the souls of children who got lost in the woods, like Phantump. There are even stories of trainers being taken away by Pokemon and never seen again. The world is full of creatures that can literally eat your dreams or steal your soul, and parents just send their 10-year-old kids out to catch them all. Steven Universe seems like a show about love and gems, but it is actually about the aftermath of a genocidal war. The main characters are survivors of a conflict that lasted thousands of years. They are dealing with intense PTSD and the guilt of being the ones who made it out alive, or survivor's guilt. One of the most horrifying things in the lore is the concept of gem shards. When a gem is broken, its consciousness is shattered but not destroyed. These shards were forced together in a massive underground experiment to create a giant monster that would eventually destroy the Earth from the inside. It is essentially a mass of screaming souls forced into one body. The gems we see on screen are constantly fighting against the trauma of their past and the fear of an empire that wants to erase them for being different. The thing is, we grew up with these stories and never questioned the darkness behind the bright colors. Many are not seeing the truth here because we want to remember our childhood as a safe place. But these shows were trying to tell us something about the world. Whether it is the fear of being replaced like a train, or the grief of a lost parent, these cartoons were teaching us about the heavy parts of life before we were ready. Now that we're older, we can confirm that these writers were putting some very serious messages into their work. It makes you wonder what else we might have missed in the shows we watch today. Could it be that these disturbing backstories were actually meant to help us cope with the real world as we grow up? Does knowing the dark lore behind your favorite childhood cartoon make you want to watch it again, or avoid it forever? Let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the secrets of your favorite shows. See you in the next one.